Hi, this is Jeff Pospisil, the 10-Minute Treasurer with practical advice for improving your church's financial future. In this video, I want to go step by step how churches can apply for the Paycheck Protection Program funds. Sherry Meister from the Dakota's United Methodist Foundation and myself, and along with many others, we've been focusing on this, trying to learn as much as we can, because we think it's important that churches strongly consider this. I mean, most churches don't want to receive federal aid, but you know what? Many churches are struggling, and this is a way for churches to get the aid, the relief that actually was in mind when this bill was approved. Some senators, that part of the debate process, they lifted up churches and nonprofits that this would help because we're an essential part of the community. And if you're like most churches that I've talked to, giving is down because we're not able to meet. And even the people that are able to give, they may not be able to give as much as they would have liked to because of the economic, I don't know, disaster that's going on right now. So that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to spend much time talking about the specifics of what it is, but basically, long and short of this, this is a loan to a church that can be forgiven if you follow the procedures. So, but first of all, how do you even apply for the loan? And it's a very low interest loan, by the way. It's a 0.5%. So it's a very low interest loan at that. So even if that was the best it was, that's still worth applying. But then when you get the loan forgiven, that's even better. Okay, first things first. The first thing you need to do is give something for your treasurer to do or your finance person to do. They need to be put to work. And I'm going to tell you exactly what they need to be doing. You need to hand that off to them to find the records that they need, the information that we need to actually fill out the application form. And at the same time, you also need to get somehow your church board together to meeting, or the finance committee or the trustees, some official body of the church to actually approve that we can apply for this loan. You can meet electronically, or I don't know if you need to be able to meet in a way where you can actually have some kind of a discussion. So I don't know if an email discussion counts, but definitely for sure I know a conference call would count, a Zoom call would count, something like that. Even getting out in the parking lot, standing 6 to 8 feet apart from everybody, or whatever the restrictions are, I guess that would count. You just got to yell at everybody. But whatever you do, get it approved by somebody of your board, and then also put your treasurer to work. Okay, so here's what you're putting your treasurer to work on, or your finance person to work on. The first thing is we need to calculate the average monthly payroll. There's really only two numbers you got to calculate for this whole application, but that's one of them, average monthly payroll. And to do that, you got to look at the 2019 records. That's so 2019, how much did we pay in salary and wages? Look at all your positions. So for some of you, it's just one position, but some of you, it's multiple positions. So how much did we pay in salary and wages in 2019? Did we have a cash housing allowance? So factor that in. Some pastors receive a cash housing allowance. Do we have retirement benefits? If you have a pastor, they likely have a Fund 3 pension direct bill. So go ahead and include that amount, plus anything else for retirement benefits that are paid, not a withholding, but paid paid by the church. And then group health care benefits. So for a pastor, that's Fund 4 Health Flex direct bill. But if you pay, again, not the withholding part, but what the church is actually an expense of the church. And one thing, don't include payroll taxes. So the employer share of Social Security and Medicare, you can't include that. And so you just take all those up and total them. And I'm going to walk through a quick example. So imagine I got a church, and it's I launch a new church, Mitchell's Second United Methodist Church, and I got a pastor salary of $41,000, a secretary's wages of $6,000. I have a custodian who I pay $200 a month, $2,400. A direct bill of $11,031. Health Flex direct bill of $14,175. These are all 2019 numbers. And then I gave a Christmas bonus because I wanted a round number of 75,000 so for my total. So that's how you add that up. You look through everything. I had no cash housing allowance, so that didn't apply. I didn't pay any other benefits to my secretary or custodian. I didn't have any other positions. That's all it was. So you take that total of 75,000, divide it by 12 months, and that gives you your average monthly payroll of 6,250. So 75,000 divided by 12, 6,250. And then the only other number you have to calculate is the number of jobs. And for my example, they're just counting heads. They are not counting full-time equivalents. They're not counting how many full-time employees or full-time equivalents you have. And for me, I had a pastor, I had a secretary, and I had a custodian. So I had 3 jobs. So those are the 2 big numbers you have to calculate for this application. Okay, so I'm going to walk through filling this Paycheck Protection Program application form out for Mitchell Second United Methodist Church, and hopefully I made it big enough for you to follow along. First thing is check the nonprofit and then enter in your business legal name, which is Mitchell Second United Methodist Church. There is not going to be any trade name. And then the primary address, so just put the church address for this. And I'm just tabbing through this and it goes over to the EIN. So this is the church's tax ID or EIN. So that should be found on any 1099 or W-2s that we put out. Then the church phone number. Then the rest of the church's address. And then the contact, which is probably your finance person or treasurer. So I'm going to put my own name and I'm going to make up an email address, number 2 probably at gmail.com. That sounds good for a second church. And then here's the numbers that you calculated earlier. So average monthly payroll, 6,250. Multiply that by 2.5. So that gives you 15,625. And then the number of jobs that you calculated. If your church doesn't have a mortgage or a rent, just do the payroll and utilities. And the church doesn't have an owner, so I just write not applicable here, and that should work. For all these boxes, read them. Chances are they're no, 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 and no. And then for these other ones, again, read them. And if they're no and no, and I'm a U.S. citizen, that's good. And you're going to have somebody initial these. And that's really what I would do. After this, I would probably just print it out and have the person who's going to sign it initial next to all these things that they're asking for. Because they're asking for a good faith certification that you really are in need, and chances are you are. You've probably seen offerings drop. You're probably struggling to in a lot of ways. So, and then you say who should sign it. I would say somebody from that group that approved it. So if it's the administrative council, if it's from the trustees of the finance committee, have that person do it. And here's a little bit more instructions. That probably already agrees with hopefully already agrees with what I already said. But anyway, you can review that as well. So the next thing, or maybe it's another thing to do at the same time as you're doing everything else, you need to find an SBA lender, somebody that could do small business loans. So pick up your phone. First thing to do is check with your local bank, because that's just going to be the easiest. Whoever your church is banking with, check to see if they do small business loans. So if they do small business loans, then they should be able to handle this. I just heard that the United Methodist Federal Credit Union, First Choice Credit Union, does not do small business loans. So that's out of luck. So you're going to have to find somebody else. All the big banks will do them, I'm pretty sure. Federal credit unions will do it. I think I even saw Farm Services will do it too as well. Anyway, we'll see, but check your bank first and see, because one thing too, there's going to be other information to collect when you go in to actually apply for this. You can ask your bank at that time what they need, but here's what I'm going to guess you're going to need. You're going to need your financial statements from 2019, you know, the balance sheet or income statement or statement of financial position and statement of activities, or whatever you want to call it. They want to see what income's coming in, what expenses are going out, and what do you have for assets likely. You're going to need your 2019 payroll records. So they're going to want to see, you know, how much did you actually pay out, and to what positions did you pay them out. You might need copies that the employer copy of your W-2s, the list of the current employees and what their pay rate is, probably the most recent billing for pension and health. So for some of you, that just might be your church statement. Most recent utility bills, because they're going to want to see, because part of why that's increased, why they multiply it by 2.5 instead of just 2, because this is really an 8-week loan. So, but that they're assuming that extra half covers your utilities, so they want to make sure you have that. And then if you do have a mortgage, your most recent mortgage statement as well. I want to just offer a word of caution, because as soon as you apply for this and receive the funds back, you're going to need to track those expenses for the next 8 weeks. If you want this forgiven, you need to figure out how you're going to track those expenses. I've heard some people advocating, hey, just open up a separate checking account just for this money. But whatever you do, track your expenses, because you're going to want to make sure you could say, here's how I spent on payroll, those payroll related expenses. Here's how I spent it on utilities over these 8 weeks, and here's or whatever it is, you know, mortgage interest, or so you want to document those and be able to, because after this 8-week period comes to an end, you'll want to touch base with your lender and say, what do I need to fill out? What do I need to show you to get this forgiven? And they'll guide you on that. Right now, I don't really know 100% how it is, but you do need to be prepared to track this. So that's all I got. Hopefully that was helpful. This was kind of a longer video than I normally do. Again, this is a ministry of the Finance Office, as well as the Dakotas United Methodist Foundation. There are more links in the comments or the notes section, and you could always find more information at www.dakotasumc.org or dakotasumf.org, or find us on Facebook or wherever. And I just want to, this has been a good reminder that we're in this together like family. We are connected like family. And our mission is so important. The mission of making disciples of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. All right, God bless you guys.